If you are having a hard time understanding our tutorials, instead of making a PDF manual, I will be giving a sample PDF working drawings and intentionally leave some dimensions for you to counter check. For example, for the structural drawing, these are incomplete pages, but you can use these as your reference. These are the same layouts we've been using. These are sample schedules, bar hooks and bends, and this is just a layout drawing. Let's say such as this roof framing plan. Could actually check for the scale of these dimensions. They're actually 50% less than the actual scale. So just use this as references if you need new ideas how to show presentation. But of course, do not duplicate this or replicate it without consent. And that's why some of them are intentionally laid out differently. So this is for tutorial purposes, or we could say educational. Welcome to lesson 3, 2D electrical. So then now you might ask, why do we have to copy the file and keep on renaming this? We started with architectural, duplicated the file to structural, and duplicated it again for electrical. Actually, you could have it already opened in layout. Go to File, Save As, and then just rename the file. The problem is that you might accidentally change the structural file and save it as electrical without changing the name. So the structural layout accidentally becomes your electrical layout. So this is the workaround we will use for our video demonstrations, just to be safe from unnecessary changes. We could choose to get the floor plan by either the architectural or the structural. For these demonstration purposes, I have placed all demo files on the video in this folder called demo file. So we have our box house structural a while ago, and let's make a copy. So Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, or copy and paste. This way we avoid trying to accidentally delete what we have done in the structural. Let's rename this as box house electrical.layout and open the file. Now that we have our box house electrical and we open that, let's delete the pages we don't need. So remember here, we actually placed structural layers. We can delete them. And since this is already an electrical, we can get rid of these tags that were used for structural. So just delete, leaving the floor plan behind for our lighting and power layout. To select multiple pages, just hold down Shift and go to the last page. Delete. For our lamps, let's start first by making conceptual layouts. Let's use the circle and the smaller circle to indicate main lights and minor lights. Going to shape style, I want this to be color yellow, so make the fill yellow and the stroke black. In this case, what I'm going to do next is to put them in a layer so that they will be easy to select after. So I'm going up, Sketchup, plus sign, and call these my E for electrical and lamps or lighting. Okay. The reason why we place E, S for structural is because if you do this all in one layout file, then actually they're all seen together. So disable object snap so that it's easier to move around. And I will just speed up the video for an easy demonstration. Let's go. Now that we're done with our conceptual lighting location, we can proceed to our outlets as well, or our power. So for this, I'll just make a simple circle as well. The right symbol for power should be this way, but the problem is we might take much time flipping and rotating. So for the conceptual phase, I will just make it inside the circle and group them. Let's go. Layout, power. Now that we're done with all our electrical fixture, that's our lighting, our power, we need to know where to locate the panel box. Say for example, our panel box will be hidden near the door. Right click, make group, and let's say just one panel box for the 3 floors, depending on the computation of the electrical or professional electrical engineer. If you can see the layout, most of the powers are near the switches or near the doors, and all our bathrooms have the water heater. The kitchen has the ref, the range, and the appliances power. Our laundry also has the washing machine power outlet. And for the bedrooms, I'd place them back to back and also near the switches, because personally, when it comes to construction and I do not know the workers, this is one of the easiest lining style to do. They don't really need much supervision as compared to complex designs. So since these are conceptual, you can show this to the client and explain to them that the locations are here if they want to add or remove more. And afterwards, let's fix our layers. If you notice, I grouped the lights together and the outlets together as well. Let's make layer E lighting and E power. The letter E standing for electrical, so that in cases where we merge all our layouts together, we have the A, S, P, E for each document. I'll transfer these to power. So if I click on the group, move to power, I have to double check inside because these might still be in lighting. However, since I selected them and the blue line or the blue dot is in power, then we're safe. So right click, move to layer, power. Let's check. Okay. Do same for all floors. This is an advantage, especially if the electrician is also digital. You could just hide the power and let him focus on the lights. Just like our plumbing plans later on. Lighting and power are in tandem because they need to have at least a close relation to the circuit lines. So that's what we will go to next. Under lighting, let's go and place switches. So for switches, we can just press S for a single pole switch, 2S, or let's say S2 for a double slotted switch, and S3, S3W for three-way switch as necessary. And let's lay them out in plan. As early as now, we can also choose to group them so that we can work inside while seeing a translucent background. Let's say, for example, the switch here will be S3, and then you can make the switch line. The switch line will just be a dotted line, a thin one, and maybe let's follow the color yellow so that it won't be too dark, but make sure it's visible as well. Okay, since this yellow isn't that visible, can make it darker, maybe like this. Turn on the dashes, and this can serve as our switch line. Now if you remember the technique to making curves, you can do that here. So from the switch, drag to the left and hit the middle. From the switch again, drag anywhere and hit the middle. So that means this switch has actually 3 buttons, so one for the living room, one for down here, and one for upstairs. We can make also our switch. Be careful though placing switches directly on the column because the switch pole or the conduit pipe might have to go through the beam, and that depends on the structural engineer if he likes to allow that, because sometimes they say it might compromise the strength of the structure compared to having it on walls where you can just hide it through drop ceiling. Let's say we have another switch here for the outside laundry, one for here. Let's make it 3. One for here as well. And of course the bathroom, just one switch. Unless you have something for the shower. If you notice our lights are on top, let's check our layers. I have been drawing through lighting, but my lighting group has been on tags the whole time, so move to layer lighting. The problem here, however, is that if I try to draw over it, you might see the switch wire on top of the light. In that case, just arrange and send to back. No problem. So if you want 2 lights to be turned on by one switch, you can just connect those fixtures or the lamps with each other and then direct them to the switch. This is the concept I've been talking about a while ago. By placing both power and lighting, and if the electrician wants to see them once, then we can arrange the letter S or switch so that it does not really cover the symbols, which makes it easier to read. Say the same kind of switch near the master's bed. Here I could just arrange the back because they're in the same layer anyways. And then last thing we should do is to make the circuit number. Personally, I'd prefer the lights to be the first circuits and make this into a group as well so we can go inside and move the circuits together. If it's a water heater, we can indicate that there. Let's say this is GCFI or weatherproof outlet. GFCI, GCFI. GCFI. GFCI means it's ground fault circuit interrupter. Okay, I'd like to use this for laundry electricals, although it costs a lot higher. Make this circuit 3, ref. Make this circuit 4. Yeah, I started with the power. Sorry for that. Range. Circuit 5. CO. And how many COs? 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd place them here so that it will be easier to compute later on. I do not have to keep on counting. You could actually also place an arrow, let's say an end arrow, that goes here. Disable auto join. And you can make that the circuit home run. You can also convert these as well. Okay, so keep on doing that. I'm not gonna show the whole thing until the finish. But what I want to show is one technique that I've been using since Sketchup 2013, since layout was not that well developed compared to now. I usually place a special layer right here above SketchUp, and I call it the rectangle or rec. This special rectangle just separates my floor plan from the electrical layout, especially if all of them are to be printed in black and white. So what I do is I'd cover the floor plan like this, turn on the fill, and disable the stroke. So it disappears because of the fill. Then I click on the fill color and make this into a transparent rectangle. As far as I know, it could print, so your opacity can be determined by your sense of printing if you're going to use laser, inkjet, or thermal. Especially during apprenticeship days where we had no colored printer and just a thermal printer. I did this method in order to hide the floor plans, and the electrician was very happy because he could easily see the fixture and the wirings. Now, of course, most of you, if you want to make your wiring go bendy, you can just go there and then hold and drag. Do that again to go up. So there's no problem if you want it straight or bendy. However, when we make our leaders as well, so instead of making these arrows, you can also choose to use your label tool to do this. Circuit 5. And then just change the shape. Lighting. So make the start arrow empty. The end arrow actually an arrow. And it goes the same way. And just color it red and stroke. Okay. So multiple ways, same result. And then the beauty of this, I don't know which version it came with, but when you right click the arrow, you can convert it to a curve. So it actually curves the arrow. Looks nice. Looks feminine and neat. Okay, with that being said, you can proceed to your circuits. Just copy them, make a new page, paste them, and use these as summary for your computations. So you don't have to go back towards the drawings again just to count everything. Just align left, and you could space vertically. You could use your flip up and down. Oops. There. So I know that circuit 1 is water heater, 2, 3, 4, and circuit 5 has 4 convenience outlets. It's one way to go about that. The other way is through our scrapbooks. So what I have here in our scrapbook is already a sample circuit layout. Let's try to use that for our roof deck. So I'll drag and drop. Since these are already arranged, I could just double click, go into the lamp layer, and start arranging the lamps. Smaller lamps. And when I'm going to place my switches, I go to the switch group and just copy the style using letter B or the style picker. Okay. Then I can use the letter S for switch. Switch 2. Let's say this. And the one outside are the same switch. Then I can go inside this and actually make the lighting circuit. Okay, so it's already written up here. Just double click that and then start drawing. You can also copy the circuit summary. Copy that arrow and say circuit 3, 8 lamp outlets, 4 switches, and 2 double switch. Okay, looks like that. If you don't want to use the whole template, we have some parts here as well. You can just drag and drop. Lighting, switch wire, circuit home run, and summary. We also have a list of material symbols, such as the panel box, PB, switch. You could actually see them when you open Scrapbook. Our weatherproof outlet, our normal convenience outlet. So if you're going to lay this out, example, you group them together. You could just rotate them, hold shift, 90 degrees. Control to copy and Shift R to flip top and bottom. No problem as well. So these scrapbooks are included in your volume. This can be your pendant light or chandelier, whatever symbol you have. You can even customize your own symbol. Just make them into a group. And then call it service entry. And that's for our electrical layout and power. So what you could do is just, pick. Actually, that's the style here. You could just, with the eyedropper tool, pick the style and paste. Or you can drag and you can drop. We could also open it and edit it. Once we're done with that, let's go to our load computations. For our load computation, we have to open an Excel file to make it table style. So I'm also going to upload an option for you to get the Google Sheet. Let's go to our demo file, electrical. This one is a template you could copy paste. So you have the electrical riser diagram, meter cage details, the legends, same thing used in our scrapbooks. And then you have to change these according to the analysis of the electrical engineer. The size of the wire, how many millimeters squared, and if it is THWN or THHN. This is an oversized example as well. Switches, I chose to make it a text and put fill and stroke so that it can easily be seen. You can see how our floor plans became transparent. And you can see the panel board diagram. So these are your circuits. Lighting will be 1580 for the ampere, and power would be 20. So you have to indicate as well if it's a range, air conditioner, or weatherproof outlet. And then the final computation will be here to be verified with the professional electrical engineer. So even in design, you're able to compute for this, and then they can recheck your computation. They actually print this out as well with their own computation, which will allow you to revise. So you could just insert an Excel file. Say for example here, our weatherproof outlet has some constants, such as this 360 volt amperes. Our water heater is maintained at 3,500, so our electric bill goes up. Our refrigerator stays at 800, and our range at 3,000. So the sizes of our wire for power is 3.5 square millimeter, and lighting will be 2 millimeters squared. Let's say, for example, I made an Excel file. Just go to File, Insert, and look for that Excel file. I made this in Google Sheets and I downloaded it as a TSV file. You could also download this CSV or table files, XLSX. Okay. Just import that and it will get transferred here as is. Because if you just copy paste from Excel, you might have to edit the table and go inside again. But this one is also editable, so you can go inside and arrange. However, there is no format here for inputting formulas. So for example, I want to merge these cells. So I go left to right, just select the box, and then right click merge cells, or M. Okay, because if I try to go from right to left, it does not really select unless it hits the whole thing. Another way is also to select everything, go to space, and then equally. So for example, we sized everything to fit. That means to fit all the text. There might be some columns or cells that are not equal. Like this one might be bigger than this one. So what we can do when we size equally or space equally, every single row becomes equal in space. And then put the final product for the professional engineer to check. You can also go to text style and make unbounded. I'll just make the text smaller. If it's too small to read, you can put the next cells on the next page. So that's no problem. Alright, it's a very brief summary of electrical. I'll see you at plumbing.